Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Uh, Welcome to my new lecture. So I'm Dr. Zahur Islam and you are watching me on my YouTube channel. Let's take a start. Today the topic which I'm going to present, that is the metabolism of biomolecules, especially the glycolysis. Before starting a lecture on glycolysis, we should know about the basic steps, the basic mechanism, that how the glucose molecule they are broken down and pyruvic acid is formed. So as we know that metabolism, it is a Greek word, or metabolism is derived from a Greek word which means metabelleins, which means to turn about, to change or to alter. What actually happen over there? So in metabolisms, there is interconversion of chemical compounds in the body. Metabolisms, it may become either it is constructive process or destructive process. But here in glycolysis is actually catabolic pathway, and with the glucose molecule that is broken down, or you can say a single glucose molecule containing 6 carbon that is broken down into pyruvic acid is formed. So our main objective is to broken down the glucose molecule into the pyruvic acids. So why there is interconversion of chemical compounds take place inside the body? The metabolism is much and more important in order to broken down any chemical entity, any chemical substance, any molecules into their components. So different pathways and their interrelationship and their regulations. Come toward the significance of metabolisms. Why do we need the process of metabolism? Why metabolism is important? So as in our previous lecture, we have already talked about that whenever we need to synthesize something or produce something, so for synthesis you need more and more energy, you need more and more glucose. So the synthesis of essential substance or biomolecules, the degradation, the oxidation of certain molecules, and there should be the provision of energy. So in metabolisms there will be the conversion of toxic substances to the non-toxic substance, and then which can be easily excreted from your body. That's why we need the process of metabolism, that is important for the synthesis or the production of essential biomolecules. Metabolism is important for the degradation, for the oxidation of certain molecules. Metabolism is important in order to provide energy or the provision of energy, and there will be the conversion of toxic substances to non-toxic substances. Let's come toward the pathways. Now what are the different pathways which are involved in the metabolism of glucose, especially in glycolysis? I will try my best to explain each and every step in detail, because in glycolysis, which involve already the different type of cascades reactions, mean, and you will complete the glycolysis in 10 different steps, and there are different enzymes, 11 different enzymes are involved through which the reaction is proceed. So look at here the pathways, the anabolic pathways. You know, in anabolism, there is a synthesis of larger molecule from the smaller molecule. Mean the smaller molecule, they are grouped together and form globules or large molecules. So here in anabolic pathway, there is endothermic. So simple, this is endothermic, the energy is absorbed. So energy required process. For example, gluconeogenesis or protein synthesis. So I mean that per protein synthesis or per glucose synthesis, so you need much and more energy. So here this is actually the anabolic pathways endothermic, which require, this is energy required process. So for gluconeogenesis or per protein synthesis, you need more and more energy. The second one is catabolic pathway. So what is catabolic pathway? Catabolic pathway is the breakdown of the large molecules. Or simple, this is oxidative reactions. That how the large molecule, they are broken down and they are converted into the simpler ones. So the catabolic pathway is the exothermic process, while the anabolic pathway is endothermic process. Because in anabolic pathway the energy as absorbs, and then that energy is required to build up new biomolecules. For example, you need to produce the a big molecule of protein, so you need amino acids. You need different amino acids which are combined to each other and form a large molecule, while the second one is catabolic pathway. So in catabolic pathway there is breakdown of the complex or large molecule, that is also called oxidative. So the catabolic pathway is exothermic. So this is energy yielding process. The energy is released, or this is energy release process, and then ATPs form adenosine triphosphate and then it convert into the ADPs. For example, glycolysis. So glycolysis is catabolic pathway, while protein synthesis and gluconeogenesis is anabolic pathway. This is very simple and easy to understand. The third one is empibolic pathways. So what is empibolic pathways? Empibolic pathways is the pathway which is involved in synthesis as well as the breakdown of molecule. So I mean that empibolic pathway, there are two processes occur simultaneously. One is mean the anabolism and the catabolism reaction occur simultaneously at the same time. So actually it acts as a link between the anabolic and catabolic pathways. This is the intermediates reactions, and this empibolic pathway, it is a link. It provides a support to the anabolism and catabolic pathway. For example, the best example is citric acid cycles. So what is citric acid cycle? We will explain all these all these reactions in detail. So what is carbohydrate metabolism? So this is very simple. Carbohydrate metabolism means the breakdown of 6 carbon glucose molecule into pyruvic acids, either it is aerobic condition or anaerobic condition. So if there is aerobic condition, so in aerobic conditions, in the presence of oxygen, there will be the formation of okay, so one is aerobic glycolysis and the second one is anaerobic glycolysis. Aerobic glycolysis is occur in the presence of oxygen, while anaerobic glycolysis, all this process is take place in the cytosol, in the cytoplasm of the cell. Why these reactions are important? So in carbohydrate metabolism, it revolves around the provision in the fats, the metabolism of glucose. For example, glycolysis, hexomonophosphate shunt and uronic acid pathway, and gluconeogenesis and glycogenesis. The second one is glycogenolysis, and then acetic acid cycle is a common metabolic pathway. Now let's come toward the basic concepts of glycolysis. What is glycolysis? So glycolysis is derived from a Greek word glyco means glucose or sweets, lysis mean breakdown. So it is also known as Emden's Murph pathway or Emden Murph Pernas pathway. Actually, this glycolysis it was for the first time presented by Emden's. That's why it is called Emden Murph pathway. This is a 10-step process which is occur in the cell in the cytosol, which is the soluble part of cytoplasm. Glycolysis is the process in which the glucose or glycogen is converted into pyruvate or lactate. So what will be happen actually? So oxidation of glucose or pyruvate or lactate is known as glycolysis. Because in glycolysis and aerobic glycolysis there is the formation of pyruvic acids, pyruvate with 8 ATPs molecules, while in anaerobic glycolysis there is the production or the formation of lactate and 2 ATP molecules they are formed. So come toward the significance and the importance of glycolysis. Why we are studying glycolysis? So glycolysis is required by all the cells and tissues substantially for the brain and totally for the red blood cell. So I mean that glycolysis, the breakdown of glucose is too much important because your cells and your tissue need sufficient amount of glucose, and that glucose is reached to the specific sites. For example, your brain, your RBC need glucose, mean your blood need glucose. So this is the major pathway for the glucose utilizations. How the glucose will be utilized? The fructose and galactose are also the metabolized through this pathway, mean the fructose and galactose. So both are glucose, they are also metabolized in this pathway or through this pathway, so it can provide energy or ATPs even in the absence of oxygen. Either the oxygen is present or not, but there will be the production of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and it also provides the carbon skeleton for the synthesis of non-essential amino acids. Even the carbohydrates or glycolysis, it provide the glycerol for the synthesis of fats, because you need glycerol for the production for the synthesis of fats. How entry of glucose occur inside the cell? Mean each or every cell and tissue need glucose, need energy, and that energy is received by these cells and tissue in the form of glucose, in the form of energies, and the energy is glucose. So glucose has to be transported from the extracellular fluid into the cells, and then the carrier dependent transport across membranes. For example, for the muscle cells or for the heart cells and for the adipose tissues. So for muscle cells, for heart cells and for your adipocytes, you need insulin dependent. For liver cell, GLUT, insulin, these are insulin independent, while for brain cells, these are also insulin independent, and for RBCs, these are also insulin independent. Now, what are the different sites? Mean where glycolysis take place. So all the enzymes which are required for the glycolysis, so there are 11 different type of enzymes which are required for the glycolysis, or they are present in the extra mitochondrial fraction of the cell, which is called cytosol. So inshallah, in next lecture we will discuss the detail, the cascades of reaction which is take place in the glycolysis, that how the glucose molecule they are broken down, and then the different products they are formed with the help of certain type of enzymes, certain kinds of enzymes which we have explained. So this is the overall reactions. So this is very simple. An overall reaction look at anaerobic glycolysis. There is the formation of, you can say, pyruvate, while in anaerobic conditions there is the formation of lactate. Inshallah, they glucose and NAD and ADP, they are converted into 2-pyruvate and then NADPH2 nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, as well as this ATP adenosine triphosphate. It is utilized. So there are two stages of glycolysis. So one is the preparatory stage. The preparatory stage is ATP consuming stage, or they also called priming and splitting. Here the phosphorylation has occurred, the addition of phosphate to any group. The second one is the risk cleavage to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, while the second one is oxidative stage, which is called ATP producing, and with the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is combined with NADH plus and then ADP with 2-inositol phosphate and then pyruvate lactate plus NADH and 2-ATP, they are produced. Inshallah, in my next lecture we will talk about the cycle of glycolysis, that how the 6 glucose molecule, they are broken down and the pyruvate is formed. Thank you so much, my dear students, for watching this lecture.